I've got these tiny hands.
Hello and welcome to another issue of the Headless Hammerhead Guide to Comics and More. Today we have a massive video for you. We will be continuing our series on the power sets. Today we will talk about the Resize Power Set, which has both huge and tiny implications. We'll review each power within and discuss its utility inside and outside of combat. So let's go! So the Resize Power Set is kind of small, not as small as the Weather Control Power Set, but here you have 14 total powers, but really it's 8 core powers. So we're going to go through each one. There's Grow 1 through 4, Growing Attack, Macrodimensional Travel, Microdimensional Travel, Resize Object, Resize Other, Shrink 1 through 4, and then Shrinking Dodge. So we're going to review each one by one, and we'll discuss their utility in and out of combat, and my review of the overall value. So we begin with a multi-tiered power, which is Grow, and we have Grow 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we'll go with each individual one. So Grow allows your character to resize and grow bigger than their standard size, and this takes a standard action or reaction. There are no prerequisites. It's under, of course, the Resize Power Set. The trigger is if the character is attacked. So that's for the trigger for if you use it as a reaction. If you're attacked, you can grow, and this is a permanent power, so it doesn't take focus or anything like that. So this allows the character to grow to a huge size, and Grow 2 allows the character to grow to a gigantic size. On both powers, you can return to your size at will, so it doesn't really take an action or reaction, at least not according to the wording here. Now, so looking at the core rulebook, it actually doesn't say much about size. It says your character will get some bonuses, but to look in Chapter 4. So when you turn to Chapter 4, all it shows is object sizes and discusses how objects affect combat. So if you look at my nifty narrator screen that I've created, which is available for download for free on my website, there's a link below in the description, you will see that huge size is 24 foot, the size of a truck, and gigantic size is the size of an airliner, 100 feet. Being the sizes will give you a +2 and +3 attack modifier respectively, and a damage multiplier bonus of +2 and +4 respectively. Using one of these objects gives you a number of possible targets that you can hit, and I'm assuming that as a character of these sizes you can also hit 5 targets or 20 targets respectively as well. Now, Grow 3 allows the character to grow to titanic size. All the other information is the same as Grow 1 and 2. It does have a prerequisite, just like Grow 2, which is Grow 2, but there is no rank prerequisite. So this you can take even at rank 1. Then we've got Grow 4, which allows the character to grow up to gargantuan size. Of course, it has a prerequisite of Grow 3. So Grow 3 lets you go to titanic size, which is 400 feet, the size of a cruise ship, and 4 gives you gargantuan size, which is 1600 feet, which is the size of a skyscraper. These give you a +4 and +5 attack modifier respectively, and a damage multiplier of +6 and +8. The number of possible targets are 80 and 320 respectively. Looking at our nifty chart. Now, before I give my opinions on them and discuss the utility in combat and out, I'll discuss Shrink because it's very similar. Again, rank 1 powers, all of them prerequisites. Just for the subsequent Shrink 2, 3, and 4, would you just need the prior version for each of those. Standard or reaction as far as what it takes during combat, and trigger for reaction is if you're attacked as a character. Permanent duration, and again, shrink down to little size for Shrink 1 and tiny size for Shrink 2. I'll get right to Shrink 3 and 4. So Shrink 3 allows the character to shrink down to miniature size, and then Shrink 4 allows the character to shrink down to microscopic size. So how would these work in battle? So we look at our narrator screen here. We've got little size, you're about 1.5 feet, size of a cat. Tiny, you're 4 inches, the size of a brick. A miniature size, you're 1 inch, the size of a RPG miniature. And microscopic size, you're 0.25 inch, the size of an ant. The attack modifiers are -2, 3, 4, and 5 respectively. And you can throw at this point, because you gain extra strength, you can throw at 10, 20, 20, and 20 spaces. Possible targets are 1 for tiny size, of course, that would make sense. Now, how can these be used in combat and outside of combat? In combat, it's obvious. We have attack modifiers, damage multiplier bonuses, throwing bonuses, and number of targets that you're able to hit with a swing of your fist or a stomp of your foot during combat. Outside of combat, shrinking down to the different sizes can have its uses to sneak past enemies, to get in through tight spaces, sneak into a building through the air vents or whatever, or even a pipe. Growing to giant size, or the largest sizes, gargantuan, etc. You can crush an enemy building or vehicle or some kind of robot, or fight a kaiju. You can take a missile, for example, or a bomb, hurl it out of the way of civilians or any type of populated area, things like that. So these both have their uses in combat and outside of combat. And based on the type of campaign that your narrator is running, this could come in real handy. Thematically, these are good for characters like Ant-Man, etc., where you can grow and shrink. But now a note about combat though. None of these powers, the grow or the shrink, mention anything about giving you any kind of defense bonus. And although they are both possibly triggered as a reaction during combat when you're attacked, it kind of is pointless, because you will not get any kind of bonus for shrinking or growing when you're hit. Neither does it grant a debuff to the attacker, like trouble on their dice roll or any kind of negative to their attack modifier. So really, as a reaction, it's kind of pointless. Now contrast that with growing attack, where it's a rank 2 power though, and you would need grow 1 at least as a prerequisite. Now, it is a reaction when your character grows. That would be the trigger for the reaction. It is instant, and it does cost 5 focus though. So basically, if you use your action to grow, you could use your reaction from that turn or round to do a growing attack as well. Now, this allows you to make a close attack with an edge, so it does give you a bonus to your attack, kind of. And if the attack succeeds, you do regular damage for the size that you're growing to, so it could give you a multiplier and a bonus modifier. On a fantastic success, you do double damage and stun the target, which is pretty good. So growing attack obviously has its combat utility, nothing really outside of combat. Then you have shrinking dodge, kind of the opposite of the growing attack. This has shrink 1 as a prerequisite, and of course rank 2 as well. It is a reaction, and it's triggered when you are attacked. It does have an instant duration, and it costs 5 focus as well. This gives the attacker trouble on the attack. Here's the problem with this power. Shrinking is a reaction when you're attacked. This is also a reaction, so you would need to be able to do 2 reactions during combat to be able to shrink and do a shrinking dodge. So you will need to take another power or some kind of trait that gives you an additional reaction to be able to do the shrinking dodge and give the attacker trouble on the attack. Now we have Resize Object. So this has a prerequisite of grow 2 or shrink 2 and a rank of 3. It is a standard action, and the duration is permanent. It does cost 10 focus to use this power though, but the effect is the character can make an object within reach grow or shrink. Character can resize the object as much as their own grow or shrink power would allow them to. So you would need to refer to the objects and sizes table on your narrator screen or in your book to see what size you can shrink or grow the item to. But here's the great thing about this power. It allows you to change the size of the object within reach. It doesn't say that you need to touch the object or hold the object to do so. So basically, as long as you're kind of within 5 feet of an object, whether it's a death ray or a bomb, you can shrink it. If it's something like a sandwich and your whole party's starving, you can feed them all with one sandwich. So it has a lot of uses outside of combat. Inside of combat, only if, say, somebody's holding a weapon, a gun, or a stick, and you have shrink. That's really one of the only ways. Or one of your allies has an item, say, a lamppost that they're going to swing at a bad guy or at a truck or whatever, and you want to grow it so it does more damage and gives more of a multiplier, then you can do that. So it does have a lot of utility both inside combat and outside of combat. This is a great power. Then we go to Resize Other. So this one, of course, requires Grow 2 or Shrink 2 and Rank 3 as prerequisites, standard or reaction, and the trigger for the reaction is if the person is grabbed, the target. So the duration is permanent as well, and it costs 10 focus. The book says that the character can resize any person and their clothing that they are touching. The character can resize the object as much as their own grow or shrink power would allow them to. If the target does not wish to be resized, character must grab them first. So in this one, unlike Resize Object, you must be able to hold them and grab them to do so. Now during combat, you would use your action to grab the character, and once they're grabbed, you can use your reaction to shrink or grow them permanently, which is really powerful. This can be done as a reaction if you're grabbing them and then somebody else is attacking. You can grow them so they can become the target, kind of like Skulk, and have them be the target and make them kind of an easier target, even though you don't get a bonus to hit them or anything like that. But they can be used as your shield. But they don't get to do any kind of saving throw or anything. You just have to land a hit and to grab them. So this is a great power. It's very powerful. Now we have Macrodimensional Travel. It's Grow 4 is the prerequisite, Rank 4 power, standard action, and it is an instant duration. Cost is 15 focus. The effect is you can grow enough to travel into the Macroverse, the overspace or other dimensions of enlarged space. Then it has an important note that this is something that most characters would rarely want to do, as it removes them entirely from regular universe and places them in a dimension in which the rules of time and space work differently. An hour in the Macroverse, for example, is roughly equivalent to a month in the regular universe. A trip to the overspace is too overwhelming for most minds to handle. So this doesn't tell you what happens if you grow and it affects your mind, doesn't say how. I guess that's up to the narrator. However, this really has not much use unless you're going really cosmic and fighting somebody like Eternity or the Living Tribunal, something like that. Other than that, this has zero use in your game. So this is a power that you would probably want to steer away from. And similarly, we have Microdimensional Travel. Again, Shrink 4 is the prerequisite, Rank 4 power, standard action, instant duration, and a cost of 15 focus. Character can shrink enough to travel into subatomic realms. They can return to their normal size at will. Note that this is something most characters would rarely want to do, as it removes them entirely from their regular universe and places them in a dimension in which the rules of time and space work differently. The underspace, for example, might make a fine place to hide, but there's little else of interest here. So this again has utility not in combat but outside of combat, where you would shrink. Well, maybe in combat if you want to escape and you're the only survivor of your party and use your action to do that. Otherwise, outside of combat, you would shrink up to subatomic, which is, you know, barely even visible with a microscope, but you can shrink a little bit less than that and be smaller than the microscopic size, the size of an ant. So what you can do is maybe turn into the size of blood cells. If somebody has some kind of illness or has poison or something, and you do kind of a Fantastic Voyage or Osmosis Jones type of adventure and go in and do the necessary things to try to heal the person or stop whatever it is that's affecting them from doing so. Other than that, there's really no use. You can't grant this to somebody else, so you would be going by yourself unless the other teammate has the same power. So again, macrodimensional travel and microdimensional travel really should be avoided in most campaigns, and not much use for them. So overall, the Resize Powers, they have their good and their bad, so I would put it kind of in the middle. They have great utility outside of combat. Most of the powers, some are completely useless. In combat, there's a lot of use as well for some of them, although growing attack would use up both your action and your reaction, and then shrinking dodge would require not only your action, but then 2 reactions to be able to avoid the hit if you're going to shrink dodge, and all that does is give the attacker trouble on the attack. And there's other things that can do that a lot better than that, like using karma, for example, rather than wasting your action and reaction and your second reaction to do a shrinking dodge. So that, I mean, if you want to do it and just for the flavor of the battle, as far as, you know, the narrative aspects of it, great, but really as far as combat mechanics, it's kind of a waste. Macrodimensional and microdimensional travel are both wastes of time, wastes of a power in most campaigns. Again, only if your narrator's having a really strange campaign where you got to travel to all these things, and only if the other heroes in your group have these powers as well. Are these any good? And thus ends another issue of the Headless Hammerhead Guide to Comics and More. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for hitting that like, the subscribe, leaving a comment, and of course, hitting that notification bell to be notified whenever I put out another video. I'm trying to churn them out as quickly as possible. There's a lot to talk about with this game. And I have some announcements here for you guys. I have a contest that I'm going to be running once I hit 250 subscribers. I'm about halfway there, but once I do, you are going to want this. I will have a huge prize for anybody who leaves a comment. Every time you leave a comment with this video or any subsequent videos up until I run the contest, up until I hit 249.2 subscribers, then I will run the contest, and depending on how many times you've commented, that's how many entries you'll have to win the DangerousWatersComics.com Ultimate Pack and more. So remember, this is going to happen once I hit 249.2 subscribers, and if you subscribe and leave a comment, every comment you leave on my videos from now until I reach 249.2 subscribers gets you an entry to win. And this ultimate pack, you may ask, what does it include? Well, here we go. You'll get 6 different pairs of dice, so 3 different colors, 6 dice, the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game core rulebook, a copy of the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game Cataclysm of Kang Adventure, Marvel Multiverse role-playing game X-Men expansion when it comes out as well, and the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game Spider-Verse expansion. You'll also receive a rare comic book and a free comic book day bundle.
We don't bite here.
No, we don't. And the value of this bundle is over $300. So you may want to really get down, leave a comment, make sure you subscribe first. And remember that on the description of this video, you will find Nick Bacon's contact information. If you need to program anything, you'll find the link for the random character generator as well, and you'll find a link to my store, DangerousWatersComics.com, where you can purchase all of your Marvel Multiverse role-playing game items that you need, including dice, and you can print out the narrator screen as well as the random character generator tables. And if you place an order, and this goes for the prize winner as well, I do not hold items. So if whatever you order, if you do pre-order one of the other books that haven't come out yet, I do not ship everything together. I ship things as they become available, so that you don't have to sit there and wait and let everybody else around you have these items that are already out while you're still waiting for your order. So it's a great incentive to order from me as well. Now, I thank you very much for your support. Thank you again for watching and for all of your feedback. And what was that you said?
We don't bite here.